That's a bad idea. That's a bad idea.
Thought I would win against Anthony, but here I am with a broken jaw, learning the hard way. I'll heal. I'll be.
So picture this scene. The Kaseya Center in Miami was buzzing with electricity one moment, then boom. Complete dead silence. The next. Joshua's right hand found its target in round 6 and didn't just drop Jake Paul. It sucked every bit of noise right out of that building. The atmosphere just died instantly, replaced by this heavy quiet that nobody saw coming.
6, 7.
That right hand connected clean, and the cameras captured exactly when reality hit everyone watching. This wasn't some fluke slip or bad timing. This wasn't material for Jake's next YouTube upload or clever social media post. Earlier that night, Jake had been moving around the ring like he owned the place. Relaxed shoulders, drinking in all the spotlight like usual. But minutes later, completely different story. Medical team rushing in, his jaw broken into fragments, fight over way too soon, and that whole carefully built image shattered in front of millions. That violent swing from confidence to catastrophe hit everyone so hard because this wasn't just another L he could bounce back from. This was the brutal end of an illusion that took years to construct.
Boxing is not a game. Fighting is not something you pick up and mess around with, right? If you're a fighter, if you're a boxer, if you're a mixed martial artist, right, you have to take this seriously and you have to respect the game.
Jake Paul didn't accidentally stumble into this situation. His whole boxing journey was mapped out with laser focus. Every opponent picked for specific reasons. Weight advantages carefully maintained. He smartly dodged the real killers early on, choosing names that brought maximum eyeballs and pay-per-view dollars without maximum threat. Aging fighters past their best days, smaller guys who couldn't match his frame, or athletes from other sports without boxing expertise. The strategy paid off beautifully for years. 12 victories, 7 stoppages, impressive numbers on the surface. Millions bought into his legitimacy as a real boxer. Media ran with the story because it drove traffic. Influencers boosted every win for content. Critics got written off as jealous old schoolers who couldn't handle change.
Counter right. There's the right hand. Jake Paul goes down again. Man, he's put.
But that whole system only works when everything stays locked down tight. Jake always dictated terms, conditions, timing. Size played a massive role in his matchmaking, more than people realized. Experience gaps mattered way more than anyone publicly admitted. Those factors stayed hidden behind slick highlight packages and overwhelming swagger. The real threat was never one particular fighter on one particular evening. The existential danger was buying into the idea that controlled success could travel anywhere, that victories built under perfect conditions would somehow translate against a full-sized elite heavyweight with nothing to lose. Joshua crushed that fantasy permanently. This wasn't some fun exhibition or novelty show. Joshua showed up as exactly what he's always been his entire career. A professional heavyweight carrying 26 knockouts and delivering real permanent damage. He didn't need hype or drama to sell himself. Right from the opening bell, the gulf between them was painfully clear. Jake wasn't boxing in there. He was hanging on, clinching Joshua desperately, grabbing whenever possible, wrestling to buy time in a fight he couldn't control through talent. The speed gap, timing advantage, and raw power were overwhelming from minute one. The finish was written before they even touched gloves.
Best shot at the moment. Not that much is going to happen. And it almost... Oh, there's a left hook.
Joshua stayed patient and methodical the whole fight. No rushing for highlight reel moments. No chasing viral knockouts. Just waiting for his opening. Round 5 brought the warning shots. Jake hit the deck hard. Then again, going down a second time. Each knockdown drained more confidence from his face. Round 6 wasn't dramatic when it arrived. Just inevitable, like dominoes falling. One perfectly timed right hand with surgical placement. The Kaseya Center watching a clinic unfold.
That's a bad idea. But let me tell you what. A lot of people watch that one.
Will you watch it?
Sure. You know what everybody's tuning in for on that one. I think everybody's going to get what they've finally been waiting for.
When Jake couldn't beat the count, the numbers painted a devastating picture. First knockout defeat of his career, something he dodged until this night. Second loss overall on his record. Now sitting at 12-2, and those digits don't lie. Meanwhile, Joshua collected his 29th victory and 26th knockout like it was routine business. Nothing remarkable. Jake left that building with a shattered jaw requiring immediate surgery, hospitalization for days, and a liquid diet stretching weeks ahead. You can debate scorecards and argue decisions, but broken bones don't negotiate. That's a receipt that ignores your follower count.
Fight for a second. It happened in the 6th round, and it happened in a 22-foot ring. A typical ring is 20 foot. This one was 22 foot because he wanted a bigger room to operate, a bigger space, a bigger ring, somewhere to...
The fight's real ending came after the referee stopped it. And this is what people miss in their analysis. The final bell didn't protect Jake from anything. The official count didn't stop the actual damage being done. Real consequences kicked in later, when adrenaline faded and reality arrived with medical bills, x-rays, and doctors who couldn't care less about social media metrics. Fractured jaw needing surgical reconstruction, hospital monitoring, surgery to reassemble the pieces, not something you joke about in post-fight vlogs. That's your body sending a formal notice to your ego. No appeals allowed. Almost overnight, everything shifted dramatically. Trash talk vanished from his feeds. Tweets slowed to nothing. The guy who documented every career move in real time went completely silent. Because when your jaw gets wired shut and you're drinking meals through straws for weeks, confidence feels different. Way different. This wasn't a black eye healing in days or bruised ribs you tape up. This was a serious lesson that fighting real heavyweights with real power means consequences don't end when cameras stop rolling. Bravado looks great under press conference lights. Looks much worse in hospital gowns waiting for surgery.
I need to give this guy a systematic breakdown. I know what type of fighter he is, and I said I'm going to take his soul, and I said I'm going to see it leaving his body round after round, and when the time comes, some people are just there to get knocked out. And I said it, and that's exactly what happened.
That brutal contrast hit the public so hard. Hours earlier, Jake was strutting confidently, posing for cameras, absorbing attention like always. Now surrounded by medical staff, discussing recovery schedules and surgical timelines. This loss landed differently than anything before. Fans can laugh off decision losses and move forward. They can meme knockdowns for laughs, but fractured bones and operations aren't entertainment anymore. That's accountability presenting its bill. Boxing's version of an undisputable receipt. While Jake dealt with doctors and harsh reality, Dana White dealt with something else entirely. Being completely right and getting proven right in the most savage way possible. Dana didn't jump into this conversation after the knockout landed. He'd been sounding alarms about this fight long before they stepped in that ring. Called it a terrible idea publicly and repeatedly. Straight up said Jake was entering territory he didn't belong in, way over his head. Back then, people dismissed it casually. Said Dana was bitter about influencer boxing, hated the crossover wave, feared Jake's popularity threatening traditional boxing. That's where everything completely crumbles mentally for Jake Paul. Physical healing happens over time with your body, but psychological recovery, so much harder to manage. After the fight, Jake claimed he stunned Joshua at moments, said he won certain rounds, clearly. Sure, that's human nature. Standard denial phase. But his body language revealed a totally different truth. The slow exit from the arena, that distant stare into nothing, speaking without his usual razor confidence. You could hear it in his tone. Something fundamental broke inside. His first knockout loss in his entire boxing journey. Decision defeats hurt your record and sting your pride. But getting knocked unconscious changes how you view yourself as a fighter. Forces questions you can't edit out or algorithm away. Jake's always been brilliant at controlling narratives. Find new opponents. Create fresh angles. Spin new storylines. But when you get put away like that, flat on your back, unable to continue, there's no alternate route available. The gap between losing and getting stopped is enormous, psychologically. Decision losses let you argue and debate. Knockouts end conversations permanently. Your ego doesn't just take damage, it shatters completely. Suddenly, shortcuts don't seem so smart anymore. Risks feel real in your bones. The sport stops feeling like content creation and starts feeling like actual warfare with consequences. That shift didn't just affect Jake personally. It spread through his entire circle. Logan Paul felt it deeply, too. Before the fight, Logan was vocal and confident, surfing the wave like usual, backing his brother publicly. After the knockout, that energy disappeared entirely. The Paul brand was always built on total control. Controlled chaos, controlled stories, controlled danger. For the first time, they lost control completely and publicly. You can't edit hospital footage into wins. Can't spin broken jaws into victories. Can't shield your brother from physics and reality. That's when spectacle becomes personal. That's the quiet aftermath nobody prepared for. The moment when everyone, from fans to promoters to fighters, had to ask seriously, how far is too far in this influencer, boxing, experiment? This wasn't entertainment accidentally going wrong. This was a reality check, delivered at heavyweight velocity. Once that door opens to real consequences, you can't seal it again. Jake Paul didn't just lose one fight on his record. He lost the fantasy that rules bend indefinitely in his direction. Once that fantasy shatters, every forward step feels heavier. This fight silently murdered the entire concept of safe crossover boxing as a workable model. The unwritten rule was always obvious to sport insiders. Influencers mess around in safe spaces, not in deep waters with predators. Jake Paul deliberately crossed that boundary, and Anthony Joshua made sure nobody forgets it. This wasn't hype colliding with hype in manufactured beef. This was hype sprinting straight into levels it couldn't reach no matter how hard it tried. Instantly, promoters grew nervous about future bookings. Fighters became cautious about crossover opportunities. Fans stopped treating it as comedy. Real boxers don't need influencer paychecks badly enough to risk becoming tomorrow's cautionary tale. Wired jaw, questioned brand, damaged legacy. That single knockout chilled the entire crossover combat world. For Jake, no clean exits remain. The record is carved in stone now. First knockout defeat, second loss overall, no rematch power to demand, no moral victory to claim. Fans split between sympathy and "we told you so." Sponsors examine risks closer now. Opponents hesitate before signing contracts. Credibility suddenly costs real money. The final truth stays simple and undeniable. Boxing ignores followers and online influence. Dana White didn't personally defeat Jake Paul. Reality handled that job perfectly. Anthony Joshua didn't just collect another win for his record. He defended a line that needed defending. This wasn't drama or controversy. This was gravity doing what gravity always does. Eventually pulling everything back down to earth.